These days it's much more that the consumer will make a statement on social media. So they'll say something about the product on Facebook, or even go to the company's website or social media page and basically tell the company that there is a problem with the product. I guess in the old days that would be a one-on-one conversation between the consumer and whoever the representative of the company is. That's still the case. It's still a one-on-one communication with someone from the company. The only problem is now you've got thousands of people watching that communication. Social media being very immediate means you have to have an immediate response. And that immediate response has to reflect some empathy with the people who are, talking to you about a problem. So to the extent you can pre-prepare, I believe you pre-prepare by training people really well in terms of how to respond naturally and as a human to any kind of incident. And you can express empathy with someone without admission of legal liability, for example, which, if you get the lawyers involved, sometimes they'll say nothing. That's the worst possible response you can have to an incident, particularly one on social media, because you have now left a gap in the communication that lots of people will be very happy to fill. But the point is to get on with communicating what you do know and what you are doing, as opposed to not saying anything and letting people speculate on what you may or may not be doing and that you may or may not care. Well, number one common mistake is not saying anything. So that's the biggest mistake that I see is, no, don't say anything until we have all the answers, and that may take days. So we've had a number of instances of that where companies have essentially not engaged in the communication. Then when they do engage, it's either a standard corporate PR bump, like consumer safety is their number one priority, yada, 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 yada. And most consumers will see straight through that and say, you know what, it looks like you're feeding me a line, so I'd suggest maybe you are feeding me a line here. Another mistake I've seen is people treating social media like, I guess, traditional media. So they come out with a 4-page media statement and basically stick it on a website as an attachment you can download. I will guarantee that very, very, very few consumers will actually read that statement at all. And if it's any more than half a page, they're certainly not going to read the whole thing. So you're kind of wasting your time. In a social media sense, your messages need to be short, sharp and immediate. And that communication has to continue over a period of time. So it's not just the initial ones, but continually feeding back as you get more and more information. It's kind of a bit of a corny old cliche, but it's said that consumers don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. What consumers are looking for from a company when an incident happens is whether they can trust them or not. Consumer trust is a big part of a brand. It's a key asset of any brand. When there's a problem with a product, that consumer trust becomes questioned. So how a company responds to that is going to determine whether the consumer is going to continue to trust that brand, to trust that company.